Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. I got an email from Scott B. Subject line, Abraham Lincoln wax statue melts in scorching heat. And in the email, Abraham Lincoln wax statue melts in scorching heat. Symbolic from Scott B. So thank you for the email, Scott. Let's take a look at this. Well, it doesn't look good. Yeah, it's not a good sign, I don't think. Yeah, so this is kind of dramatic looking, and you might think, well, this isn't supernatural. This is explainable. Wax is going to melt in the heat. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you can explain it. What matters is that it's something that causes awe or wonder, or in this case, maybe a little bit of dread. So this is my latest sign that I'm putting on my spreadsheet. I have a spreadsheet called Signs United States, which seem to be United States specific signs. We're going to do a quick review and look what's going on with this. And there's some really weird stuff when it comes to this statue. I'll show you in just a minute. Okay, before we look at that, I have finally updated the Flood the Earth challenge. It's been hard the last couple of weeks. I don't know why. It's just I've been so busy, and it takes time. It takes time to find all the comments and the emails, but I've finally done it, at least for the comments, and then maybe tomorrow or the next day I'll do the emails. So we are at 9,716 copies of the Book of Mormon that have been shared so far. We're trying to get to 10,000. So we are now less than 300 away. And once we hit 10,000, I think I'm going to do a special live stream and we can celebrate. I'm not sure when this is going to happen, but probably within the next couple months. And then, interestingly, we now have 1,111 people that have participated in the challenge. We're now trying to get to 5,000 since we met the goal of 1,000. So if you haven't already, please consider doing so. You can share a hard copy of the Book of Mormon, or you can just go to the Gospel Library app, go to Scriptures, and there's a button to share the Book of Mormon app that you can text or email or direct message or something like that. Now, last month, maybe this is my fault, I don't know, was abysmal when it comes to people meeting with the missionaries. And there was no people meeting with the missionaries or baptisms. And maybe that's just because I haven't brought up the Flood the Earth challenge enough. And so people just weren't thinking about it and they didn't report it. But anyway, I think some of those made their way into July. Let me fix this. July. Because we have 5 new reports of people meeting with the missionaries. And then 2 reports of people getting baptized. So it's like now we're back on track. These are probably from June. But anyway, it's hard to match it up with the exact time frame. Sometimes people wait a while before they report things. So I'm glad to see that because I thought something may have been seriously broken. So good job, everybody. Keep up the good work. We'll just do this little by little and change the world a little bit at a time. So let's just do a quick review of what I have on my spreadsheet so far. The first thing that I have, because it really seems like, especially this year, but going back a couple years, there's been a lot of signs that just don't look good for the United States. Warning signs, I would say. The first one that I have on here is January 6th. We all know what happened that day, and hopefully there's not some kind of repeat by any side. It doesn't matter who. Next year, I think things are going to be interesting, but that's the first thing that I have on there. The next one, this was a year later, August 14th of 2022. President Nelson rededicated the Washington, D.C. temple, and I think that was a very significant event, along with these other renovations and rededications. I think this was a significant one, and that's why he himself rededicated it. We've talked about that before. Okay. After that, later that year, just a few months later, the nation experienced its first ever election day blood moon. If that's not a bad sign, I don't know what is. For the first time in the nation's history, especially at a time like this, with what's going on politically in the world, especially ever since 2017 onward. things have been crazy. And during all this, there's a blood moon on election day. This wasn't for the presidential elections. It was just national elections for, Congress. But yeah, this happened. And then after that, um, one day after the Kirtland Temple reopened, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, which is not far from Washington, D.C., collapses after a cargo ship rams into it. Francis Scott Key was the author of the text of the American National Anthem. And here's a picture of that. Did a video about it. Jen Stevens from Christian Fire Poppy channel. I think she's talked about this even more. So you might want to go check her out and subscribe. But we had this when you have a bridge that's named after the author of the national anthem and it collapses. I don't know. I feel like there's some symbolism there. Okay, next. Now, these two come just 2 days apart. On April 3rd, okay, so this was 3 days before General Conference, and on the 188th anniversary of the appearance of Christ, Moses, Elias, Elijah in the Kirtland Temple. April 3rd, okay, 188th anniversary of that day. There was a lightning bolt that struck the Statue of Liberty and was caught on camera. Yes, the Statue of Liberty and other tall structures get struck by lightning all the time. What matters is that somebody was able to capture a picture of it and cause awe and wonder for everybody else. That's why it makes the news, and that's why it can be a sign. And this is pretty dramatic looking. You see that? Typically people think of lightning striking things as like a message from the Lord that he's not happy with something. In fact, I have a spreadsheet for lightning, but that's a topic for another time, or you can just visit it anytime you want to. The link for my spreadsheets is in the description box below. So you had that happened, and then 2 days later, there was a rare earthquake in northern New Jersey, which shook New York City, including the Statue of Liberty. And there's this, I'm not going to play it, but there's this video here that shows the Statue of Liberty shaking. So it gets struck by lightning and it's caught on camera for everybody to see. And 2 days later, it shakes from a rare earthquake. Okay, that's nice. And then May 31st, we have this unfortunate thing that happened. It doesn't matter what political party you belong to or what your politics are. This is not good for the United States when you have a former president that's convicted of felonies. And I know there's debate and controversy over that. This is not a political channel. We do bring up political things, but this is not a political channel. So this happened, and this is not a good thing for the country. And then the most recent one, aside from the wax statue that we're about to talk about, it happened on Jerusalem Day, which I'm not saying that that's necessarily related, but it's just an interesting day for this to happen. You had some rare tornadoes sweep through the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia regions. This is the first time the local office of the National Weather Service has ever issued a particularly dangerous situation, or PDS, tornado warning for Montgomery County. And here's the article one of the articles you can look at that talks about that. So just all sorts of menacing, ominous things taking place that seem to be aimed at the United States and especially the nation's capital, because, you would associate that with the nation as a whole because it's the capital. And now we have the most recent entry with this wax statue in Washington, D.C. at an elementary school. Let's read about that. Searing heat wave melts Abraham Lincoln. A wax statue of former President Abraham Lincoln melted amid a scorching heat wave in the nation's capital over the weekend, leaving the artist responsible for the sculpture surprised. I feel like that's a key. This was not expected, but there's more. The statue, which sits outside Garrison Elementary, a northwest Washington, D.C. school, was seen in photos circulating online to not be handling the heat very well as the region dealt with record-breaking temperatures. The National Weather Service recorded a temperature of 99 degrees Fahrenheit on June 23rd at Ronald Reagan International Airport, beating a record of 98 degrees Fahrenheit set in 1988. The previous day, the National Weather Service said temperatures at Dulles, is that how it's pronounced? Dulles International Airport hit 100 degrees Fahrenheit. In the images that have been shared on social media, on the social media platform X, formerly known as Twitter, the wax sculpture was seen collapsing. Again, collapsing. That's not a word you want to hear when there's something that seems to be a sign for the United States. We just talked about the bridge in Baltimore that collapsed. We're now talking about this that's collapsing. The Statue of Liberty shaking from an earthquake. Yikes. The head of the statue was pictured dramatically slumped back as the knees of the sculpture broke off and the chair sank into the ground. This is not the first time the wax sculpture has been in the news. In October 2023, it was lit during an event and melted extensively, prompting police and fire crews to show up, according to local news station News 4. People were left troubled by the headless Lincoln, who in real life was shot in the back of the head in 1865 by John Wilkes Booth. Yeah, so let's take a little, let's go on a little tangent here and talk about this artist. Okay, so there's this website called culturaldc.org. So I guess they partnered with the artist Sandy Williams IV, and it has even more pictures on here. This is just really not good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's one of the legs broken off. This is horrific looking. This is absolutely horrific. So anyway, I looked into this artist, and this person, oh my gosh. Okay, so there's a bio, and this seems to be like a gender fluid person. And there's all sorts of quote unquote artwork here. A lot of it seems to be like anti-United States, anti-Christian, because there seems to be like this fascination with like monuments, making them out of wax and then melting them, which I guess you could make the argument like, oh no, it's just, that's what you do with candles. But the image that's left behind is something that was built to be a memory of something, a memorial, and it melting away. That's the obvious imagery that comes from that. So here's like a Statue of Liberty, some random, I don't know, some wax monuments of historical figures, I assume. Here's one of like a black and white United States flag, and it's melting. Like there's pictures of it. I think when you click on it, when you click on, wait, I thought there were some more pictures. Oh yeah. Yeah, people lighting this flag because there's all these like wicks that are all throughout it. And it doesn't seem very respectful or patriotic or friendly toward the United States in America. Let's go back. There's some other ones that I find a little bit disturbing. Here's Mount Rushmore with the heads of the presidents on fire because of the wicks that were placed there and their faces melting. Here's one of the cross, and that doesn't look good. It's like a fallen cross and it's been melted. Here's other lovely images from this person. So you have this wax statue that was placed in front of an elementary, and this also had wicks. It was intended to be burned. According to this article, it says, this is from penlive.com. In an update on their website, the organization said that the wax sculpture by artist Sandy Williams IV, which is officially named 40 Acres Camp Barker, was, quote unquote, intended to be burnt like a candle and to change over time, which seems to go along with this ideology of erasing our history and changing the United States into something completely different, erasing the past. But the scorching temperatures seemingly sped up the process. Okay, so this is all great. The 6-foot tall replica of the Lincoln Memorial statue, complete with wicks, was created by Virginia-based artist Sandy Williams IV. Okay, this is what it looked like before it melted. Williams said the statue had melted a second time despite their best efforts to build safeguards, in that they were still working out what to do next with the installation. Quote, something in the universe bigger than me has now melted this sculpture twice. So remember how earlier it was saying that Sandy Williams was surprised, and then, they tried to build in safeguards, and now something in the universe bigger than me has now melted this sculpture twice. So it feels like probably the Lord is intent on that happening, probably out of displeasure with the nation, the artist, just all this stuff. Not happy, and this is not a good sign. Again, this is so dramatic. Look at this. It's like what you would expect to see, like when you see movies about a dystopian future where the United States has fallen and you have like monuments that are now destroyed and in disrepair. That's what this looks like to me. Okay, so let's continue. And I think it was important that these were unplanned public events versus staged gallery or museum performances, end quote, they told Newsweek. The Lincoln statue is part of the collective The 40 Acres Archive and is named after the site it stands on, Camp Barker, which now houses Garrison Elementary School. Camp Barker was once a Union Army camp and later a community for formerly enslaved people, many of which followed the Union Army out of the South. And that's it. So, I don't know. I'll just leave that with you. You can think what you want. I take this as a sign, especially when you put it all together like this. There's been a lot, especially this year. So far, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's like 6 what you could consider signs this year that seem to be United States specific. All right, that's going to be it for this one. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also, make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.